the Clinton lawyer. And he came back around to make sure that Michael Cohen had his services. Michael Cohen can't pay him. I think we should watch the money about who ends up paying Lanny Davis. He did start a GoFundMe page, which he is tweeting out himself. I heard that. Tweeting out himself and putting on Facebook because I think he wants his bills paid. The other thing that I think is interesting is that, you know, if I ever go on CNN, which I do from time to time, which none of you would know because I didn't know if you watch it, but it's an interesting thing. You watch it? Okay. It's frightening. But but I always love this thing where they try to say, well, Trump's a liar. So let me just try to explain to you real quickly how this works. There's about half a dozen or 8 of these left-wing blog sites that track what every Republican says. And the purpose is for the left to own the truth. They're the truthful ones. We know this, right? We're the liars, they're the truthful ones. So the other day, I was on television when this tragic situation with the family separation, which, by the way, I don't want to make light of. I think it is a tragic thing. I think it's been hard for all of us to watch. I mean, the law is the law, but by the same token, it's been hard to watch the situation. And when the president realized what was happening, he stepped in immediately to try to fix it. That being said, it's not the Trump policy. It's Obama's policy. Obama separated families. It's a fact. It was written about throughout the last year of the Obama administration. I went on TV, and I said that on CNN. I said, don't call it the Trump policy. It's judicial policy, right, that Trump inherited. He's going to try to make the sense of it that he can. But President Bush separated children at the border. President Obama separated children at the border. It's time to be honest. And the guy called me from one of these Truth Squad places, which you see, you know, the Pinocchios, the Washington Post, the New York Times. They say, okay, how much is the conservative line? I was like, well, you know that Obama separated families, you know. And he's like, yes, it's true, but we think Trump is doing it more, so we're going to say you're lying. I got it. So when they say Trump lies 9 times a day, it is these left-wing truth squads that are saying he lies. Then they multiply the number of days he's in office, and that's how we get these, Trump has lied 60,000 times, 600,000 times. I mean, it's all so made up. It's absurd. By the way, the same time CNN is saying that, CNN is misreporting constantly. Now, I know a lot of these reporters, and I'll tell you one thing. Sometimes I actually don't think they're lying. Sometimes I just think they're stupid. But, you know, there's a difference. Sometimes people are just wrong. They said that Michael Cohen said that Donald Trump, that Lanny Davis said that Michael Cohen was going to say that Donald Trump knew about the Russian meeting in Trump Tower. Well, it's a lie. He's now come out and said, well, no, not so much. They did something the other day where they said John Bolton met with a Russian spy. That was on their air. Can you imagine how John Bolton reacted to that? I don't know if any of you know John Bolton. John Bolton is on my board. Don't mess with Ambassador John Bolton. The point is this, even if you think that CNN is meaning to lie, and some of you may, I think sometimes they do that, but I think a lot of times they just get it wrong. President Trump's no perfect man. He gets things wrong, he says things wrong. It's pretty perfectly, it's part of his charm because he doesn't really understand government. He didn't live his whole life in government. It's one of the reasons why we like him and why we picked him. But just because you say things inartfully and not always completely accurately doesn't mean it's a lie. A lie is a moral judgment and a moral condemnation. And I'll be damned if I'm going to let anybody in the fake news give us moral condemnation. We have to take the truth back. They think they own the truth, they do not own the truth. And so we think about all these things we've lost. I'll get a little more depressing here just for a minute. As I told you, I got 5 kids. My oldest is 15. She's in the high school. They're radicalizing the high schools. It's not just the colleges. It's moved to the high schools. She came home crying because she was the only one in her class that thought Black Lives Matter was a little radical. Or she didn't believe that we needed to have a carbon tax, or that we needed to get rid of the Second Amendment. So we've lost many of our colleges, almost all of our colleges and universities. Not all of them, but many of them. They've become radicalized. We've lost so much of the media. Look at the editorial pages. Look at what happens on television. We've lost so much of that. We've lost too many of our churches and charities. The boardrooms, and I work with some Fortune 500 companies. They're scared to death to do what's in the interest of their shareholders and their customers, because the left is constantly calling them to do something for this crazy idea or that crazy idea. And we've all watched it, they do it. They give in, they buckle to that kind of pressure, even when it's not good for their company and not good for their customers. The Boy Scouts.
Yes.
I mean, the Scouts.
Yeah.
I mean, what are they? What do I call them? Is it Scouts?
No.
It's not Boy Scouts. They took it out. And my daughters were in Girl Scouts. Let me tell you, the Girl Scouts are worse. The Girl Scouts, my daughters had to go join the Heritage Girls. Is it the Heritage Girls? Help me out. Because, you know, the Girl Scouts were funding Planned Parenthood and doing other things. I mean, we have let too many of our institutions go. So I have this crazy idea. Hands off the FBI. No, you don't get it. We get to keep it. You don't get to radicalize the FBI. Let's not let that happen. You don't get to attack the thin blue line at your whim and say that they're bad people killing people. They're protecting us. No, we're not going to allow that to happen. The military, the police, and finally, ICE. You can't radicalize ICE. You can't make them illegal. And I love what so many of the speakers here said tonight, because I just believe we're in a mode where we have constitutional restoration. We really do. But President Trump might have been the last person that you would have thought would have focused so much on these constitutional principles, but it is what's happening. And let me tell you something, as I told you, I turned 50, I feel like I'm old, but I've learned something in those 50 years. It's the moments where there's the most chaos and confusion and turmoil and dust in the air. Those are the moments when you have opportunity. I believe that there's a dark side, I believe that there's bad people, and I think there's bad things that happen. And a lot of times all that's happening to try to confuse us and get us to turn against each other and to not unite. And we've got to unite like never before. Like I told you, I'm a conservative, at best we're 40%. We can't do it alone. We need to work with moderates and independents and even Democrats who realize their party are now filled with Marxists. They're not the Democratic Party of my grandparents or yours. We've got to work together. And despite everything you're reading in the papers and everything you're seeing on television, we have got a fabulous opportunity. We've got an election, what is it, 9 weeks away or so? It's really close. And they're telling you, what are they telling you? Big blue wave. Can't do anything to happen.
Red tsunami.
That's right, the red tsunami, I like that better. You know why they're saying that, just so you know? It's to dispirit you. It's to break us. They're trying to break you. They're trying to make you think that what's going on with the special counsel has something to do with why he was hired. The man was hired to stop treason, right? Not police the playground and give out parking tickets and speeding tickets. And by the way, if the IRS wasn't going after the Tea Party, maybe they could have checked in on Paul Manafort. I mean, it's just a little bit of an idea. If they actually do what they're there to do. So that's my final comment is, let's not let them discourage us. Let's realize that at this political moment, we have got to push back on this idea that they will literally have a coup on a president who's doing so much for the conservative agenda, the Republican agenda we care about. You know, if he does something that's impeachable, I'll stand up here and say it. There is nothing that he has come up with. By the way, when you don't pay your taxes, whoever here has been audited. Did you ever get done with an audit and owe taxes? It's pretty common. You pay the damn taxes. This is not that hard. The IRS could have gone into Paul Manafort's office and gone through all his papers and said you owe this many millions of dollars, and maybe he would have paid an astronomical fine. But that happens all the time. These are not impeachable offenses, my friends. And so we can't let them discourage us, and we have to fight together. This election is going to come down to 3 things. We all know what it is. They're going to impeach him the second they have a majority in the House. Nancy Pelosi, whether she says it's smart or stupid or wise or whatever, she will lead the charge to impeach Donald Trump. It'll happen as soon as they're sworn in. So just know that that's what this is about. And every congressional candidate ought to be saying that, because that's what this election is about. Right. Number 2. I'm from Kansas, I can work with almost anybody. And I even love people I politically disagree with. I really can. I think it's fun. You all in politics, you love that, right? Try to get it done. Try to figure out if we can work together. You can't work with a Marxist. There's no way. And we have. But you can't work with them, and we need to know that if the Democratic Party of today is going to be as radical as Miss Cortez and Bernie Sanders and others, it makes it impossible to work with them. And so we have to understand that if you're working with a socialist opposition party, that means we are going to have to go it alone on a lot of questions. Finally, this is a real question right now of can we work together? If we work together, we're going to win this election. We're going to pick up seats in the Senate. We can still hold this majority in the House. And we're going to give the president a real chance to continue this agenda, which is incredibly popular across the country. Thanks a lot. I appreciate you.